Oh my gosh, I know you guys have been hurting for it, so it's here, it's back. It's the ultimate Q&A, apparently. Ladies and gentlemen, it's me, Majority, and I am here to return the Q&A segment as I phased out Majority Speaks Returns. The Q&A kind of went with it, so I'm bringing it back as a standalone video, so that's what this is. This is going to be all of the questions from the Discord, the Sworn Brothers Discord, which you can go into and you can leave a question for the next Q&A. Let's see how this works. I hope you guys like it. I hope you're okay with it. This is what we're going to have to do just going forward for the interest of time. Also, at the time of recording this, I have no voicemails to show, so be mindful you can call into the show and leave a voicemail, and that number is 1-917-267-8313. Once again, that's 1-917-267-8313. All right, so we actually have some questions to catch up on. TurboZone left some for me, and that's okay. The more, the merrier. You guys are getting a feature-length episode today. So the first question comes from JC. Do you guys cook or eat out mostly? Solid question. I wish it was cook more often. I did over the summer, and I had some staples, but I think the hardest thing is just navigating in my relationship with my girlfriend, how we can eat the same things, because she has different dietary needs than I do, and so that's made things difficult. Lately, with the work season returning, I've been ordering out more, so yeah, and the money thing hasn't been as much an issue, so I've been okay eating out or, grub hubbing and stuff, especially because I get home so late sometimes. It's just miserable. But a solid question to kick things off. All right, JC has the next question here. To balance gaming sessions, do you have any sort of healthy lifestyle choices you make, such as diet or exercise? I love this question. I actually do think very much about my overall well-being before I start a gaming session, or just every day. Sometimes I notice these things, like, if I've been sitting on the couch for a while and my back starts to hurt, things of that nature. One of the most important things I like to do, especially if I have a weekend off or a day off, is I like to make sure that before I start an actual gaming session that I've been outside at least once. It's very easy in an apartment to get cramped up in the apartment and to stay in all day, but I think your body actually needs to be exposed to the sunlight to kind of set your clock for the day and give you kind of like an impression of like the sunlight and everything. I also like reading before I start playing a game, like making sure I've read at least like 10 pages in the morning or something, and just, kick a book open. I think it's good for your mind, and it's good just for your eyes to kind of vary up the intake that you have as far as like, overconsumption of electronics. Now, I think it's very easy, being on the computer and, doing work on the computer. I'm doing a video right now, and I haven't done either of these things. But before I start my gaming session, I'm going to make sure that I do that. I also do like to know that I've eaten something. It doesn't have to be anything crazy, but at least something for the day. So granola or, a bowl of cereal. Not like the trash, like, hyper sugared American brands, more so like the granola style. I really like those, and also some fruit. So mine is mostly it's not as much exercise based, but I do like to make sure that at least once a week I've gone to the gym. I don't really do too much else. I don't do like sports or anything, so going to the gym is pretty important for me, and making sure I've gotten at least 2 15-minute rounds of whatever it is, like time on the treadmill, on the rowing machine, using the weights, or going on the machines. I like to rotate it. So over the summer, I used to do that more when I had more time, but I think just with the work cycle, it's harder to get those in. I haven't figured out the balance, like, going before work or how to do it after work, because I'm always so hungry when I get off of work. But on the weekends, I make sure I do at least one. Great question. I like it. I hope that's useful for you. Oh man, you guys Q&A is killing me already. I got so many questions to catch up on them. I'm not ready. Okay, VG Mashup. What is your ideal video game length these days? About 10 minutes. So I'm really into the Game Boy games lately. Nah, I don't know. I really don't. I mean, I would like to play a longer game. I'm okay with that. But it's just hard with keeping up content for my channel and then also for the button mappers. I forget sometimes that I can do RPG logs, logs of these longer games, and that would make content technically. So I'm okay to do a bigger game. In fact, I'm playing a few right now, but I think I still get caught up in the thing where it's like I'm playing 3 games at once, and I don't finish any of them, aside from like the one that I'm set out to map out or something. Do I check how long a game takes to beat before starting it? No, not before starting it. Sometimes maybe during, but very rarely do I even look that up. I kind of just enjoy the game as it is. I don't necessarily want to like spoil my experiences. So things like walkthroughs or how long to beats, I really prefer not to look at them. Sometimes that works to my detriment, especially when in the case of a walkthrough. But in terms of like overall video game length, if I'm a decent ways in, I'm probably gonna beat it. 4 times out of 5, I'm gonna beat it. There are those exceptions. It does happen. You get caught up. But if I've made it over the hump, if I made it past the halfway point, I'd say I'm on track to beat it. But going back to ideal video game length, I don't know, maybe 40 hours tops. That's my preference. So, good question. Okay, I don't have tea for Terry today. I'm drinking coffee. It's a coffee morning. Fun fact is that I can't drink tea on an empty stomach, and it's a little too early for tea. When I drink tea on an empty stomach, I get a headache, and my stomach kind of like caves in. I don't know why that happens, but it doesn't happen for me with coffee. So today's a coffee day. Sorry, Terry. I hope you don't mind. All right. How many people have I mugged in the past decade? I think that's 0. Yeah, 0. Let's stick with 0. Do I prefer to be good or evil in a video game? I prefer to be good. I don't know. I don't know. I can't explain that. But when I play like Fable or something, I'm usually like going down the angelic route. Is once you get into like the SMT series that there begins to be kind of a gray area, which is what I like, when it's not concrete about what is good or bad, and it's kind of ambiguous. SMT4 is very interesting in that way. How many Kentucky Fried Mice have I eaten in my lifetime? I'm going to have to say 0. If Alex had 10 Pokemon, what would they be, and which ones would you steal using the Snag Machine in battle against? What is the Snag Machine? What mechanic is that? Is that from Pokemon Unite? Bulbasaur, Pikachu, Charmander, Squirtle, Zapdos, Gyarados, Snorlax, Aerodactyl. What are we at? 7? 8? Whiscash, and Quagsire. How about that? Which F-Zero machine is the easiest to use and which is the hardest in GX? Okay, solid question. I can answer that. So for me, Drac and his Mighty Typhoon has always just been the most responsive when controlling it. I don't know why. It manages the turns really well. It was my machine that I used to clear a lot of the Grand Prix modes. And Drac's just a cool character overall. I kind of like him. But, it's got a decent body, so it doesn't explode too readily. The grip is good. And then the boost is okay. It's okay. And then I think just generally you can always kind of offset in GX. If a pilot is like too hard to use, you can put more in acceleration. Versus if you really have it down, you can put more in speed. But Drac is always the one that works really well for me. And then as kind of backups, I do like Dr. Stewart's machine. Dr. Stewart's name always gets me because I'm like thinking of root beer when I think of Dr. Stewart. But his machine is pretty pilotable too. And then I kind of like BioRex's machine. I forget what it's called. Um, but that one's kind of fun to use. Hardest, which I like, and I like that the way it pilots, but I'm just not good at it, is Blood Falcon and his Bloodhawk. He has a very interesting kind of like drift. I think in F-Zero X, there's like kind of fun drift mechanics with his machine, but he kind of like rides the waves off the corners of the track. If you can really finesse him, and it works to his advantage in a couple of the tracks. I don't remember exactly how it works in GX, but he is very slippery, which I don't exactly like. And then Black Shadow and his Black Bull is the name of the machine. I would like to like this one. Unfortunately, it has such a slow start, and it's just very hard to use in a lot of the later tracks because of interference with the walls. Every time you bump into one, it doesn't matter how much you are on the acceleration spectrum, he becomes phenomenally slow, and so I just don't like piloting him, which is a shame because I think he's one of the most interesting villains in the game. So that's my experience with the F-Zero machines. Solid question. What is your favorite PC game of all time? So I've played a few in my lifetime, and I the one that I probably put the most time into that I really enjoyed was Roller Coaster Tycoon. And it's something that doesn't translate well to consoles, but I used to just spend hours just setting up theme parks, trying to build profit, moving on to the next sections. You could like customize your own like railroad tracks for like certain rides and stuff. I thought that was so cool. Like I just really like this idea. It's kind of like a roller coaster Sims-esque experience. You could check in on all the people. You could hear them as they're going on the rides. You could see their happiness level. They'd be throwing up if they hated the ride. I just had such a joy growing up playing Roller Coaster Tycoon, and it's something I haven't dabbled in a long time. But if I ever went back to PC gaming, you can bet I would download the original Roller Coaster Tycoon. They had some like 3D roller coaster designer that I tried. It was not nearly as good. It was actually really disappointing at the time for me. And then, of course, I really liked a couple multi-platform games. So I enjoyed what I played of Oblivion on the PC. For some reason, it felt very much like a PC game because you're taking first-person perspective and then like using the mouse and the WASD buttons. I don't know. I enjoyed that for what it was. Morrowind didn't do the same for me. And then I always had a traumatic experience with Fable, The Lost Chapters, not running on my PC. Way, way back in the day, probably like 20 years ago. So I would have liked to really get in more into that game, but my hardware at the time prevented me from it. But Roller Coaster Tycoon is my favorite PC game of all time at this time. So, solid question. When will you retire your consoles and play exclusively on PC? Oh, I bet you want me to, don't you, Terry? I would say when I need to liquidate my collection. Say I have kids or something and I need a fast buck, then I would sell all my games and then I would just play games on PC and phone. Or say there was some natural disaster, God forbid, and my collection was literally liquidated. That would be another moment where I would probably just stick to PC for a while. What shmup are you most looking forward to playing on the PC Engine? Airzonk. I don't know. There's this guy I used to watch on YouTube. His name is Ryan Airzonk, world champion. He used to post on the Classic Game Room forums. He would post his reviews. He did a bunch. He still does. He's still active on YouTube. You can check him out. But he was the world champion for Airzonk. I think he uploaded his scores to Twin Galaxy. He really was passionate about the game and I think the console. So I want to know what it's all about. That would be the game that I want to try. And then you and Multimaster and BioPhoenix like Sapphire. So I would try that out too. How many apples does it take to get to the center of an orange peel? I don't know. I would ask the Tootsie Roll Owl. Is Alex your dad? No, my dad is my dad. Is Spencer your mom? Also no. Spencer knows my mom, but he is not my mom. Have you ever drank cider before? If so, then what is your favorite? Yes, and I would have to say apple. Have you ever played Yu-Gi-Oh as a kid growing up? If so, what are your memories playing it with other people? Yes, I did play Yu-Gi-Oh growing up. I went through the three card phase collections, so Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, and Magic. The Pokemon cards I collected but never used. I never used them in an actual battle, so I never even understood the battle mechanics. I still have them floating around the house, but I just there's been no opportunity to put them into competitive play. Yu-Gi-Oh! I used to really like, and I really understood the gameplay system, and I would watch on the Saturday morning Fox box the Yu-Gi-Oh! Battles, or the Yu-Gi-Oh! TV show rather, and there was a card center where you could go and buy packs of cards, and they would host tournaments every like Saturday or something. And I would go and play with like a bunch of random people. Mom would drop me off for an hour and then come pick me up. And if you won the whole thing for that day, they would give you a free booster pack. And so I used to go to the card center and actually play people. And I had a lot of fun that way. And then Yu-Gi-Oh! Eventually phased out. People stopped playing it competitively. And I got into Magic the Gathering, and I had a decent Magic collection. I don't know if I ever enjoyed Magic as much. It kind of lacked some of that charming aesthetic. It was more kind of realistic in its portrayal in terms of artwork, and very fantasy-esque. And I'd say kind of like 80s kind of D&D style artwork. I don't know. But it didn't resonate with me as strongly, so I got rid of my Magic collection. But I still have my Yu-Gi-Oh! Collection. It is at home. So that's my experience with Yu-Gi-Oh! Growing up. And then as far as the games, I did own one of the Game Boy Advance games. I think it was called like World Tournament or something. And I remember being pretty decent. I did buy that Switch version. I didn't really play it much. But yeah, that's my experience with Yu-Gi-Oh! So it was fun. I have fond memories of it. I enjoyed it. And Jinzo was like the deal breaker. You just always want to make sure that you draw Jinzo, because like if the opponent has trap cards, Jinzo's taking them out. And then Scapegoat was really good too, because it would be a nice like kind of wall and like a temporary block for if the other player was like trying to take away your life points. You could have like four of these like sheep on the battlefield, and they would be the first ones to get attacked and wouldn't take your life points, especially if you have them in defensive position. Yu-Gi-Oh! I want to get back into it. So, solid question. Okay. This mustache, man, it's driving me nuts. If VG Mashup was a cocktail and drink, what would the ingredients be? I don't drink cocktails, so I can't answer that. If can I get a VG Mashup? God, I don't know, man. Ice cubes and bourbon. There you go. Have you ever mashed up potatoes? If so, then why? Yes, to make mashed potatoes. Have you ever eaten raw chicken? No. Do you eat processed food, or do you hate processed food? Both. Has Zelda Twilight Princess ever given you Shadow of the Colossus vibes? No. I guess no. Still no. It's too far removed. The formula is way different for Twilight Princess, because to get to that point where it's so open that you can really kind of explore, you have to have really committed a lot of time into Twilight Princess. Shadow of the Colossus is just from the get-go, like just take your horse and go. Twilight Princess is very much let's stagnate progression. So, yeah, I don't know. I never did personally. Did you? I'd be interested to know. Oh, I got a bad itch. I figured I'd scratch it. Bad Itch asks, how would you categorize a JRPG? Oh, I hate this question, but I'm glad you asked it. Your answer can be as simple as a Japanese role-playing game, if that's what it means to you. Honestly, I think that term is loaded. I really dislike the use of JRPG because it applies exclusively to what type of RPG? Turn-based. I never hear anybody call an action RPG a Japanese RPG. Are we calling Monster Hunter a Japanese RPG because Capcom is situated in Japan? I don't know. I've never heard anybody say that. They call it an action RPG. And then I really just don't like it because it limits the idea of the alternative audience enjoying that type of experience. Like when I played Dragon Quest Monsters growing up, was anybody calling that a JRPG? No, it was a monster tamer, or it was like a Pokemon-esque game. When I played Dragon Quest IV, did I really get vibes of like Japan in it? No. To be honest, even a game that like where the setting is Japan, like let's say Persona, right? I still hesitate to call that like a Japanese RPG because even though it is, and if you like, let's just say you want to call a Japanese RPG an RPG made by a Japanese company, you still have Western audiences flocking to these experiences. People love Persona over here. I just don't know. It's so divisive, and I don't think it should be. But at the same time, I just don't. I don't like the idea of otherizing turn-based games, and kind of just relegating them solely to Japan. Like Japan likes their turn-based RPGs, but we do too. We do like turn-based RPGs. I don't think we don't. I think Western RPGs probably tend to do better here because of the console they're on, etc. But I don't know. I feel like I'm ranting. It's not a good answer, I don't think. But I just don't use the term. I use turn-based RPG as nomenclature. I use action RPG as nomenclature. I use monster tamer. I use roguelike, dungeon crawler. But JRPG means relatively little to me. So I just don't use it. I don't know. It's probably an unpopular opinion, but I just don't like it. Okay, that's catching up. Where are we? Let me just make sure I'm on the right thing. Okay, cool. Next set of questions we'll start here. I did these. Okay. Rave Racer 91. Is Mr. Arrow the one who caused the famous Skyrim incident? There was a guy who used to be an adventurer until he broke his knee. Yes? Oh shit, I was wrong. It was Super Arrow. Okay. VG Mashup, what is my most memorable boss battle in a JRPG? We're going back to JRPG. Let me just say in a turn-based RPG. How about that? As far as final boss battles, the one in Dragon Quest IV, I just finished it again. I've beaten it for the second time now. The one after Chapter 5 is incredibly memorable because it's just, like, there's so many... I don't want to spoil it, but, like, it's multi-phased, let's just say. And it's not easy. And it makes you work for it. And, like, just the experience of the actual boss battle itself is really cool. You'll see, like, transformations and a lot of, like, things in the grotesque. And it just really feels... earned. So that's an incredible final boss battle. As far as just kind of like boss battles in general, I also remember the Medusa battle from Shin Megami Tensei 4. By the time you get to that, that's kind of like a make or break moment, and I think a stopping point for a lot of people. A lot of people say it's like Matador in SMT3 Nocturne, but I think Medusa really kind of tests your mettle in a way that Matador doesn't. Matador is more so just like using status changers, to win the battle. Medusa is actually really hard. And I don't know. Is there another turn-based RPG series I'm forgetting? I don't know. I'll just stick with that. So yeah, that's probably most memorable. Okay, VG Mashup for the next one. What aspect of The Legend of Zelda is most overrated? Characters, combat, exploration, dungeons, gear, mechanics, etc. If your answer is none, then what is the weakest link? I get it. My least favorite aspect of Legend of Zelda is the idolatry of the series. I think it's very toxic that you can't acknowledge a flaw in the most popular Zelda games. Like, we did the clip on the button mappers from Link to the Past from the map out, where honestly, like, I like the game. I really do. I enjoy Link to the Past. I played it 3 times, and I acknowledge what it did for its time. A lot of people say it's the best game of the series, or maybe next to Breath of the Wild. I just, coming off of it, and even especially mapping it out, there are areas for improvement. The puzzles are like just almost non-existent in the dungeons, which, better or worse for some people, but they're not as intuitive as done even on the Game Boy with like the Oracle games, the dungeons don't have mini bosses, so you're already lacking some personalization there. They use the same exact theme music, which I don't think any other Zelda that I've played does. You know, they all have their own kind of distinct soundtracks for the dungeons, which is really impressive in a sense. And in terms of narrative, it is relatively shallow. But you can't call it overrated, because if you do, people will pillage you. Listen, Ocarina of Time is probably one of the most impactful games for me. I love it, and it's an incredible experience. And I could safely say that it's overrated. We have to be able to acknowledge the flaws in order for these games to get better. The Skulltula thing, you know, why should you have to play the Song of Storms under a random tree to kill a Skulltula, to get a Skulltula token? Some of the things just don't make any sense. I can acknowledge that. I can acknowledge that the Morpha battle, oh God, I can't remember the name of the thing. The amoeba in the water temple is not great. I can acknowledge that the use of some items like the Megaton hammer or the light boots is severely lacking, and they're not used super purposefully. And I can safely say that and still say that I love the game. But if you come out with these opinions about like Link to the Past, Ocarina of Time, Breath of the Wild, why can't you say that Breath of the Wild ditched the narrative components present in Ocarina of Time forward? Why can't you say that and then like say that I prefer that from those games? It's insane. And I don't know if that's just a Zelda thing. I think that applies to a lot of fan bases, like Metroid, or, you know, I guess probably Mario too to some extent. But in Zelda, it's especially like, you know, come out with an opinion that's not like strictly praising or conformist, and people are raising their pitchforks. And I think that's not a good quality for a fan base. So it's more extrinsic than it is intrinsic as far as The Legend of Zelda. You know, I think that in each individual game, they all have like these things that you can pick apart and say like the things could be done better. I think holistically, they're still great products from Link to the Past onward. NES games in their own right, they're just not for me. But I dislike it immensely. I don't understand why people online do this. Like, maybe just you shouldn't share your opinions online. Maybe that's all it is. I don't know. But yeah, we have to take these things off a pedestal. At the end of the day, they're video games. You know, we can't just be like blindly refusing to acknowledge that there are things that could be done better. Not healthy at all. If you want these games to be like excellent and perfect, acknowledge the flaws and let's grow from there. All right, Alex wants to know, do you think the N64 or the GameCube has better games, and why? That's a tough one. That's a really tough one. I don't even know how to quantify that. Probably the GameCube. Probably. I mean, just the things that are improved between generations. Like Smash Bros. Melee is still iconic to this day. I do think Super Mario Sunshine is more impressive than Mario 64. You do have 3D Metroid. You have Pikmin on the GameCube. The sports games on the GameCube are incredible. And you even have a couple RPGs on there. You have Skies of Arcadia, Batten Kaitos. The GameCube is probably better as far as library. I do think that the N64 has some standouts, especially in the Zelda series. But even so, the GameCube compensates immensely with like the collector's disc and Wind Waker and Twilight Princess and Four Swords Adventure. There's a lot of Zelda on the GameCube, so I can't knock that. The GameCube probably wins. Rave Racer, any thoughts on the upcoming Hot Wheels game? Nope. No thoughts on it. I haven't even seen it. I just know Alex was talking about it recently. SNES Mapper, what is my favorite Zelda dungeon and least favorite? Favorite, probably, I would just allocate it to a game, and I would say that Skyward Sword has the best dungeons. Really, like, just scope. The things feel huge. They have, like, amazing architecture. They have like unique items that are used in them. Like there's this one like scabbard thing that you can like fly around and like see through the lens of it. And then as far as least favorite goes, Link to the Past has some of the most underwhelming and samey dungeons. And while I really like the bosses in them, I just found especially the last dungeon was kind of lazy. And some of the bosses even are kind of like not exactly color swaps, but they do the same things as previous bosses that you fight. I don't remember it offhand exactly, but I remember a couple of them being very samey. What type of iced tea would I offer to Terry 309? A hot tea with ice in it. I don't know. Probably matcha. Iced matcha tea. Just because I know he likes hot tea, so it would need to be hot first before you ice it. Do I think YouTube will become a paid-only platform in the future? I don't know. If you want to say like the next 5 years, no. Paid only? No way. People like the fact that it's free too much, and I think the advertiser model is still working for them. I don't think even that the paid incentives are going to be any better. How long has YouTube Premium been out? Like 3 years? And what have they to show for it? A movie of Logan Paul? It's not good. It's really not good. Like, I'm not talking about the movie. I'm just talking about the incentives. For all I know, it could be decent. But the only reason that I pay for it is because I really like turning the phone off and listening to long form content. And then also YouTube Music is helpful. It's useful. And, you can always install ad blocker and just put it on YouTube. They could do the thing where it's like they don't allow you to use ad blocker. I don't know why they haven't done that yet. I'm glad they haven't. But at the same time, I pay for it. So what do I care? But I don't think it would be a wise incentive for them, and I think that they would lose out on business. Like, I don't use Spotify simply for the fact that you can't use Spotify if you don't have a paid-for account. I think that's really lame. It's lame business practice, and I'm sure I'm not the only one. A lot of people do use Spotify, interestingly enough, but I just don't. And if YouTube started doing that, I don't know. I don't know if I use it because, like, to upload videos, right? Like, what are they going to do? They're going to liquidate every creator. Maybe they might make a secondary platform that is specifically paid for, that is like some kind of special thing. But I think Google would just do something different at that time. They wouldn't use YouTube for that. They use a second service. Don't know. I'm kind of just throwing things in the air there, but what do I think about Alex's new No More Heroes jacket? It's dope. He looks good in it. Terry, our dude's Geo. Yes. Our Geo's dude. Yes. Multimaster. What do I think about the cast for the new Mario movie? It's cool. I have no opinions on it. I don't really know much about these guys' backstory. I know some people were divided on the guy playing Mario. I'm excited to see it. I think it'll be fun. It'll be funny. It'll be a good laugh, whether it's good or bad. Seth Rogen is Donkey Kong. That'll be funny. Ha ha ha. I don't know. I'm just gonna see it. Like I kind of felt that way about the Sonic movie too. I didn't care about like the animation and stuff beforehand. A lot of people did. It was changed. It looks better, But the Mario movie thing, I don't care about the cast. Doesn't really matter to me. What matters is just that it'll be a fun, good-looking experience. You know what I mean? What do I think about the new games I can play on Nintendo Switch Online service? It'll be great once I can. Nintendo 64 is a great addition. I saw Banjo in there. That's awesome. Zelda, I can play Ocarina of Time on the big screen, HD TV, HDMI upscaled. That's cool. Mario 64, was that on there? I don't remember, but I do have that on the 3D All-Stars. So if that's there, then like that makes that kind of less purposeful. I'm just excited. I'm excited that it's an addition. F-Zero X is on there. Gnarly, as you would say. And then Sega Genesis is pretty legit, although, most of those games I have a way to play anyway. So honestly, it doesn't really do much for me because I can play most of these games in different ways. Like Castlevania Bloodlines, I think, was announced on there, and that's already on the Castlevania collection on Switch. So, but still, the more games, the merrier. Pretty cool, man. All right, we're closing up with Terry here. Gonna drink some coffee for Terry. I gotta wake up. You ever poked them on? No. You ever had the misfortune of eating microwave salad? Probably in a burrito or something. If I like microwave the burrito and there was like lettuce in there. Who is Alex's daddy and why is it Teddy Kong? Isn't it Terry? Terry Kong? Is Cooking Papa ever coming out on Alex's channel? I will defer you to TurboZone for that. Will I ever finish Twilight Princess? Yes, hopefully. Have you given up on any games because they are too hard? Probably. I can't think of one offhand. Actually, yeah. Okay, so I played Axiom Verge recently, and the backtracking was a little much. And I just couldn't figure out where to go. I was like 73% complete on the map. I'm probably almost there. But I've just kind of stopped playing. I was uninterested, and I was just getting bored. Maybe that's a different problem. But sometimes like these coin-op games, honestly, like even on a Sega Genesis era, Mickey Mouse Castle of Illusion, funnily enough, I died at the final boss. Maleficent was it? I don't even remember. And yeah, I just didn't want to go through the whole game again. Again, different problem, I guess. Back in the day when I was younger, I couldn't beat the F-Zero GX story mode. I did beat it a good 2 years ago or so. But I didn't give up, I guess, because I set it aside. And then sometimes shooters are that way, spaceship shooters. I don't, Lightning Force was really difficult in that way. It's one of the Thunder Force games. So I do. It happens sometimes, especially across certain genres. What is the first game I purchased with my own money? Gee, man, I don't even know. I don't even know, man. Let me see. The first games I remember buying, I've shared this story with Spencer before, was when I was in college, and it was a Craigslist deal, and each game was $10. They were DS games, and I took the bus out to go get them, and it was Dragon Quest IV, Legend of Zelda Spirit Tracks, and Bowser's Inside Story, all on the Nintendo DS. Those are the first games I remember buying with my own money. Before that, I think my parents helped me out, but I had jobs. I had worked throughout high school, so I just don't remember going to the game store when I was in high school. I think my parents bought me a lot of games. I was just saving money, and wasting money, but yeah. Donkey Kong month is next month. Am I excited? Oh yeah, man! Bring on the Donkey Kong. Let's do Donkey Kong Junior Math map out. It'll be a math out. Am I actually a Japanese man pretending to be American? No. If I could meet Captain Falcon in real life, what would I ask him? Why weren't you the protagonist in GP Legend? If they replaced Link with any other character in a Zelda game, would that matter to you? No, probably not. Dude, I'd be stoked if you could play as like Darunia, like one of the Gorons. They could do, if they wanted to make it a real Zelda game, right? They should actually do it through the lens of Zelda. That'd be cool. No, I wouldn't care. I could see people getting upset about it. It'd be like the James Bond thing, right? But no, I think they should do it. I think they should put some spotlight on some of these other characters. Maybe even a Ganon saga. That could be cool. Who's the edgiest video game character I've ever seen? The edgiest would be Reggie. I don't know, man. I don't have a good answer for this. Ask Alex. Is Link's dog named Bruno? Where's Link's dog? Is Zelda actually a man? I don't know. That'd be progressive. How many Pokemon games did I never finish? Any Pokemon Mystery Dungeon game I've played, I didn't finish. Are there other Pokemon games I haven't finished? Hey You Pikachu. Never finished that one. All the rest of them I've beaten. Although I need to start Ultra Sun. So I haven't even started that one. What JRPG series do I have zero interest in? We're going back to JRPGs, huh? I'm not interested in Tales. Sonic and Tales. No, the Tales of series. It's just, I don't know. It doesn't do it for me. And then, I don't know, Atelier. I started one of them, and it was like alchemy, and like it was just weird for me. I probably need to play it again. Hyperdimension Neptunia. Is that a JRPG? I don't even know, man. But those don't really do it for me. Am I a fan of mushrooms, the magical kind? I like Anaki mushrooms. You can throw them in some good kimchi jjigae or good Korean dishes, and it tastes great. And with that being said, questions for the next episode will start here. Boom. Boom. And that's going to do it for Q&A Majority Edition. In the spirit of math, Donkey Kong math. I hope you enjoyed what you watched. Make sure you're subscribed so you can stay tuned for the next Q&A and as well as other solid Majority content. Check out the button mappers. We do great podcast content over there and also clips if you can't watch the full thing. Thanks for watching. I will see you soon. Have a great day, everybody. Don't forget to leave a question. A question?